Thank you,
Sorry about
Gabby.
that.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. So we called the meeting to order at 6:02. There were no amendments to the agenda. We had a motion by Ann and a second by Sarah Shippey to approve the August 27th meeting minutes. That was approved with two abstentions. And the abstentions were Peter Barris and Stanley Noga. All right. And I'm going to try to keep, we have a big agenda for tonight, which is really exciting. So I'm glad everyone is able to attend, but I'm going to try to keep us on time. So please don't be offended if I call time. We're going to move on to the next item of business, which is the introduction of Southern Vermont Economic Development District and Regional Project Prioritization. And with that, I know I'll welcome Adam Grenold, who's the Executive Director of BDCC. And also I saw Laura Sibilia has also joined us. And I will turn it over to Laura and Adam. And if you just want to give brief, two-sentence introduction about yourselves for those commissioners who are new, and then I'll let you take your topics in order. We have both a request to support a submission to Southern Vermont Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy to the U.S. Economic Development Administration. And there's a link to that in the agenda, as well as the development and ranking of the regional priority projects. So I will turn it over and welcome Adam and Laura from BDCC.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Adam Grenold. I'm the Executive Director at the BDCC. Really excited to present to folks tonight the Regional Priority Project, which is a process that is driven through the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. So, Gabby, do you want me to go into detail, like the affiliation between RDC and Wyndham Regional, or just keep it
I
on
think
top?
it would be helpful for those new commissioners just to give them a
Okay.
broad overview of the SEDS and how we work together.
Great. So the Agency of Commerce and Community Development has under its umbrella the Department of Economic Development, the Department of Community Development and Housing, as well as the Department of Tourism. So Wyndham Regional and BDCC are sister entities under two different departments within the Agency of Commerce and Community Development. So BDCC does a lot of work and collaborates with Wyndham Regional, Gabby, and Chris throughout the year. And one of the things that we do is the RDCs are tasked with producing this regional priority project list. And the objective of this list for the state of Vermont is to help understand what large projects are being developed and are ready to go, sort of shovel ready, if you will. They use this list to inform some of their state funding programs. Primarily, this was first created to help support the Northern Border Regional Commission funding. However, it's also used for other grants and programs that the agency reviews, and they check this list to see if has the region identified this as one of its priority projects. So I won't go into a whole lot of detail as to what the requirements are to be a priority project. I will, however, just highlight the fact that it really does need to be close to shovel ready. So sometimes I'm going to use Grace Cottage Hospital, for example. So this is a project that has submitted in the past. It has been ranked. It is a project that is gathering funds over a period of years to do this project. So it is not here's a submission. We are ready to go build this next month if we could just get one grant. They are stacking their capital stack. There's a lot of different things involved. There's permitting, design, feasibility, private capital, philanthropic capital, state capital, all these different pieces. So a project can be on this priority list for a matter of several years before it's completed. And so Gabby, I think you referenced that there's a link in the details to the Agency of Commerce and Community Development website, which details this. One of the things that we are tasked with as a RDC is to communicate about the list. So this is done in conjunction in our region with the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. So we put that call for projects out. People can submit to the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategies list, and they can choose to, at the time of the submission, also be considered under the priority project list. So you can be a SEDS without being quite shovel ready. And maybe you're just your SEDS project is conceptual, but you want the region to know that this is something you're getting ready to do. So you submit that SEDS. If you submitted a project that wasn't really ready to go, you didn't really have your permitting, weren't sure exactly what it was going to cost, it would not be ranked as a priority project. This year we have 22 priority projects being ranked. I want to thank Chris and Gabby for being on that committee and participating in that ranking. And I think I'll leave it there, Gabby. I know you're tight on time. If you have questions, happy to answer.
Oops. Any questions for Adam in his description of the regional priority projects? They've not been, so they've been submitted and not ranked yet, just so people understand the timeline for this year. All right, I don't see or hear any questions. Oh, wait, Stephen Chait, I spoke too quickly.
Yep. Yes, please. Adam, once the priority list is submitted, what force does it carry? Does that mean that the projects at the top of the list will be considered, or would it advance forward, or just what is the mechanism that this is serving?
Yeah, so it's a variety, but if we first take it in the scope of the Northern Border Regional Commission funds, so those are now twice a year funding opportunities. Previously, it was just once a year, and this round of NBRC was undersubscribed, so there will be a larger distribution come spring, and so if you are not on the priority project list and you submit to the NBRC, you miss out on, I believe it's 10 points. So you are going to have a harder time outscoring your competitors who are on that priority list. Does not mean that you will not get funded if you're not on it. You just miss the opportunity for those points. And then to a lesser extent, it impacts other programs that ACCD in the state when they distribute funding opportunities.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. I'm not seeing any other questions. And of course, you can always write to myself or Chris if you have questions you think of after the fact. So with that, I think, well, you'll go on to your next item.
Great. So I am going to talk to you about the 2024 Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. That is a 5-year plan for Southern Vermont, for the Southern Vermont zone. That area is the geographic area contained in the same service area as Wyndham Regional and Bennington County Regional Planning Commission.
Hey, Laura.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Some folk may not know about your position at BDCC. Do you want to just briefly tell them?
Sure. Yes, I am the Director of Regional Economic Development Strategies at BDCC, and that's Chewbarca, and he's just come home and wants his biscuit. Sorry. So the one of my jobs is working to make sure that every 5 years we have our comprehensive economic development strategy updated. And that is work that we do in partnership with the Economic Development Administration and using a process that is prescribed by them. We do that with a SEDS committee. So those are a diverse group of folks from Wyndham and Bennington counties. On the Wyndham side, that is our SEVIDS, Southeastern Vermont Economic Development Strategies Board, which Sue Westa is on, and a number of your commissioners have served or are serving on there. And then on the Bennington County regional side, that group is brought together by the Bennington County Regional Planning Commission. So together, we've got a diverse group of Southern Vermonters that are working with a consultant, Camoin, who many of you may be familiar with. They've done work across Southern Vermont over the last 5 to 10 years. And that work includes doing research to understand our existing conditions, which is a comprehensive data collection and analysis. We review other documents, the 2019 SEDS. We look at the town plans, housing need assessments, statewide policy documents and studies, regional plans. And then we have a lot of engagement with our focus groups. We had a series of focus groups for workforce development, local government, entrepreneurs, arts, rec, and tourism, education, housing, infrastructure, healthcare and hospitals, manufacturing, agriculture, and forestry. We then kicked off at our Economic Development Summit in May, which a lot of you have attended at Mount Snow. A number of SEDS committee conversations, ongoing engagement with our consultants from Camoin. We put out a town survey and did a number of one-on-one stakeholder interviews. And then finally, we held a series of 6 public meetings in September to present the draft SEDS objectives and strategies and receive input. And these meetings were held throughout the day and included 5 in-person meetings and 1 virtual. And so as a result of that, we have ended up with a 5-year strategy that is now out for a 30-day public input comment or period. And our purpose in bringing this to you tonight is to ask for your endorsement for submitting this document to the Economic Development Administration. So the summary of objectives and strategies that are included in this document. There are 4 high-level objectives, and then each has between 2 to 4 strategies. And so we have an address critical population needs for the future. And that looks at investing in community assets that are attractive to young people, creating programs to train, retain, and attract people with needed skills, foster an increasingly diverse population, and continue to support policies that improve and strengthen the care and education system. The SEDS plan, which you hopefully have a link to, then underneath each of those strategies has additional action items. I will not be reviewing all of those with you this evening, but I'm happy to talk to you about those. Objective 2 is to empower businesses to thrive long-term. By enhancing business potential for growth, strengthening the Southern Vermont entrepreneurial and innovation ecosystem, establishing a collaborative regional workforce development system, and increasing access to industrial and commercial space. Objective 3, and this is a requirement from the EDA, is to foster resilient, adaptable communities by investing in infrastructure and system upgrades to reduce and mitigate climate change impacts, to increase housing options for all, to improve civic and community engagement, reinforce Southern Vermont's recreational and cultural opportunities, and finally, Objective 4, which is to promote greater regional economic development alignment amongst all of the folks that are working in Southern Vermont on economic and community development projects and processes. And that includes creating and strengthening structures to support the implementation of the SEDS and to work regionally to address critical economic development issues. As Adam said, we will then every year ask for projects throughout the region that can help to implement the SEDS. I have yet to see a project that is proposed that cannot find a way to connect to this SEDS. And a group of Southern Vermonters not affiliated, not on the SEDS committee or part of our organizations will then rank those and include those and update those every year. So again, that strategy we will submit to EDA at the end of the 30-day public comment period, which will be at the first week of December, and we're looking for your endorsement of sending that to the EDA.
Great, thanks, Laura. And hopefully everyone was able to get to the link, and I'll put the link to the actual draft document in the chat, just to make sure everybody has it in case they, oops. In case they didn't have access,
I
sorry.
can do it, Gabby.
I just have different computers and ends up being a problem.
There you go.
But does anyone have any questions for Laura? Hopefully everyone was able to look at the draft that's out for public comment. I see people nodding their head. Do you have any questions for Laura, either about the draft seds or questions that you would like to ask before we entertain a motion for endorsement? All right, I am not seeing any, so if you have any questions, speak up now.
Or submit a public comment before December 1st.
Absolutely. All right, Anne.
I just had a quick question. I wonder if there's any particular item or issue that is come out differently this year, or being a bigger issue this year than what you've seen in the past, sort of, what a pattern of change that you would like to highlight.
Well, that's interesting. I would say that, well, one of the requirements that is in the bill, in the plan, as I said, from EDA, is a requirement to include resiliency strategies. And for us, those are climate change. They are also, economic and political, being, able to be resilient with big changes in those ways. We see the rise of AI, which could, is likely to be pretty disruptive in terms of our workforce. And so those are new strategies. Adam, as part of the BDCC's, I think Adam is still on. I have you shrunk so I can look at my SEDS while I'm talking to you. But as part of BDCC's 70th anniversary, Adam's been doing a bunch of deep diving. I don't know if he wants to add anything about what we're seeing now historically.
Sure. Briefly, I think one of the main things that jumped out to me is the acknowledgement or the understanding, fear, apprehension of the speed with which things will change. We've seen generational changes in manufacturing, in our economy, that typically took decade and a half to sort of appear, transition, and manifest. And now the speed with which those changes will occur will outpace our ability currently as we have to retrain our workforce. So these changes will happen so fast that individuals and in systems will not have time to react. So we've got to ready for that and be prepared. So that's coming. I think that was a general comment that surfaced many different times. I know you're tight on time, so I'll leave it there.
Thanks for being sensitive to our packed agenda tonight. But obviously, if people have more questions, they can reach out or submit public comment.
I'll put Laura's email in the chat if anybody's looking for it.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, I'll throw mine in there too.
All right, seeing and hearing no additional comments, I would entertain a motion to support the submission of the Southern Vermont Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy to the U.S. Economic Development Administration. Is that a good motion, Laura?
Great, thank you.
Perfect. Okay, and I think I saw Anne's hand up and a second by Sarah Shippey. You two are on it tonight. I appreciate that. Further comments or questions? from the commissioners? All right, seeing and hearing no further discussion. All those in favor of supporting the submission, raise your hand or say aye. Just give me a second.
Lemke, aye.
Thank you, whoever's on the phone.
Me, Steve Lemke, aye.
Oh, Steve, thank you. All right, and put your hands down, please. Looked like about everyone, but I just want to make sure. Any votes to oppose this motion? I see in here no opposition. Any abstentions? Andrew Snelling, I see an abstention. Anyone else abstaining?
Sarah, is your hand just raised?
Yeah, that's been up since a yes, so.
Okay.
So motion passes with one abstention. Thank you all, and thank you both Adam and Laura for being here tonight and giving your presentations. We really appreciate it and hearing about what's going on in economic development and with the SEDS. So with that, you are free to stay for our meeting, or you're also free to leave as well. So thank you again.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. With that, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, which is the Rockingham Town Plan approval and confirmation. So we, the Planning Coordination Committee held a hearing last week to take public comments on the proposed Rockingham Town Plan. Not proposed, it's been approved by the town of Rockingham. We found that the town plan met all of the statutory requirements. You'll see circulated with the meeting invite or meeting email was the Town of Rockingham plan review that was done by the PCC. You'll see there are findings as well as some recommendations and comments relating to the strengths and opportunities of the town's plan. The recommendation by the PCC was that the Regional Commission approve the Rockingham Town Plan as adopted on September 24th, 2024, as well as to confirm Rockingham's planning process. So I'll entertain a motion and then we can go into discussion. So I'd entertain a motion to do those two things. Okay, thank you, Anne. And do I have a second? Thank you, Andy. With that, any discussion about either the Rockingham Town Plan or the PCC's review or findings? All right, hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of approving the Rockingham Town Plan and confirming Rockingham's planning process, raise your hand or say aye. All right, thank you. Please put your hands down. Any opposed? Peter Barris, you're opposing? No, you're just at there's a remnant.
No,
here.
I was in favor, but late.
Okay, no worries. We accept. All right, I see no opposition, so speak up if you are opposing. Any abstentions? I see Kara's hand up as an abstention. Anyone else? All right, so motion passes with one abstention. Thank you all. And congratulations to the town of Rockingham.
Gabby, who made the sorry, I just somebody.
Anne made the motion and Andy Snelling seconded.
Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we're going to move on to I think the major item for tonight for discussion, which is the introduction of the draft regional plan and proposal for for outreach. And with that, I think Matt has joined us tonight for that purpose. I'll turn it over to Chris and Matt, but welcome, Matt. And I would just say, if you want to just introduce yourself, Matt, for either new commissioners or commissioners that haven't had the opportunity to work with you, I'd ask that you do that and then go on.
Thanks, Gabby. So I know I've met many of you and worked with many of you, but for those who I haven't had a chance to meet yet, my name is Matt Bockler. I'm a senior planner here at WRC, and one of the projects I've been working on is the regional plan update. Most of my work is with municipal planning assistance, providing technical assistance to towns with town plan update projects and zoning bylaw update projects. But I'm here tonight to provide an update on the regional plan project. And I have a few slides, so I'm going to just take a minute here to share my screen. And it looks like, let's see, Chris, are you the host of the meeting?
Yes, sir. I will share. And while let's see. Make co-host. There we go.
Yeah.
While I'm doing it, I just want to say thank you to Matt. He came on board as a senior planner, immediately took this on, and we're leading the charge among all of Vermont's RPCs. And frankly, there aren't many around the country that are moving towards a plan that can really live in the digital space and be hopefully more accessible to the general public and more navigatable. So really appreciate his leadership and navigation and kind of helping us break new ground.
Thank you, Chris, for that. Hopefully you can all see my screen at this point. Okay, hearing nothing, it sounds like everyone's able to see it. So just to give you an overview of what I'll cover. So knowing that we have some new commissioners that have joined the commission since this project started, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the goals going into the project, the process that we've been through so far. And then I'm going to take time, I'm going to leave the presentation and take a few minutes to walk you through the draft web-based plan, and then talk about next steps in terms of commissioners reviewing the draft plan and what we're proposing for public outreach, and then just talking about the public hearing and adoption process. So as Chris mentioned, one of the major goals with this regional plan update was to move the plan into a web-based format. And there were a couple reasons behind this. We wanted to make the plan more accessible and easier to navigate, and having it available online just makes it easier to find a section of the plan that you're looking for, be able to search for specific terms in the plan. But this plan still has the function of being able to save the plan as a PDF, print the plan, save sections of the plan, and print just sections of the plan. So it is designed and set up so that for those that prefer having a hard copy to read through, that's still accessible as well. And then another goal for this process was, as you may be aware, we have our regional plan, and then we also have a standalone regional transportation plan and a regional enhanced energy plan. And moving to that web-based format made it easier to integrate those three plans. So instead of having three separate plans and needing to refer to three different documents to get the full understanding of WRC's goals and policies, those three, or the transportation plan and the energy plan, are now integrated with the regional plan. We also found that having those standalone plans required more context at the beginning of each of those plans, just to familiarize readers with the region and what WRC does, but by integrating them, you don't need to have kind of 3 introductory sections. You can just have the one introductory section. So to talk about our update process so far, in June 2021, WRC readopted the 2014 regional plan to provide us with extra time to complete the current update process. And we really initiated this update process in the spring of 2022. One of the first steps in the process was to select a consultant to help us with developing and designing the website. And that process was completed in the summer of 2022. We went through an RFP process and selected Edgeworks Creative based in Waterbury, Vermont, to do the website design and development. And then we worked with Edgeworks Creative in the fall and into the winter of 2023 to design the structure of the website and navigation on the website. And following that, we worked with our WRC committees to review each of the chapters in the current plan and discuss updates that are needed. And then WRC staff, based on the direction from our committees, went through those chapters, completed updates, held multiple meetings with committees to review drafts. And that work was completed in the second half of 2023 into 2024. And we completed all of our content updates this past summer. And then over the last couple months, Edgeworks Creative has been laying out all that content. So they kind of built the framework and the scaffolding of the web-based plan. And then we provided the content to fill out that website. And so they've placed all the content on the website, and I'll be reviewing that here in a minute. Just to note, there are a couple kind of formatting and navigation issues that they're still working out, but by and large, the draft website is completed. So just to provide a overview of what's changed in the plan. So I will say this is an update to an existing regional plan that has worked very well for our region for a number of years. So it's not a significant departure from what our current regional plan has in terms of content. Obviously, the new format is very different. And so the content and materials may appear and feel different because it is on a website, but a lot of the content, especially when it comes to our goals and objectives and policies, remain consistent from the 2014 plan. Obviously, when you're doing a regional plan update, the background data and information needs to be updated. So, we went through and updated existing data that we had in terms of population and housing and economic conditions. So looking at how conditions have changed since the 2014 plan was done, looking at population trends, economic conditions, housing production, and then also looking at, or the plan is also responding to changes in demographic and conditions in society. So, some things that definitely came up to the surface in the plan update process were new opportunities for remote work that didn't exist as much when the 2014 plan was done, new infrastructure needed for electric vehicles, the housing crisis becoming more pronounced in our region and in our state. It was something that was noted in the 2014 plan, but the issue of housing has really become front and center since the 2014 plan was done. And then just the growing need to address the issues around climate resiliency, especially when it comes to increased flood risks in our region. So these were things that were changing since the plan was last done that really needed to be addressed more thoroughly with this plan update. And going into the regional plan update, we know we wanted to focus on 3 main overlapping priority planning areas. So really supporting our towns to achieve the goal of having compact settlements within and around our existing villages and town centers, and hand in hand with that, supporting additional housing opportunities. At the same time, maintaining and improving habitat connectivity outside of those settlement areas. And then a big one, as I've mentioned, is just the need to address flood resiliency and climate adaptation in a much more serious way than was being addressed when the plan was last done. So through this process of updating background information, responding to changes, just societal changes, a number of policies were adjusted in response to that. But there are many policies that have served WRC well and have remained the same with the update process. But we did go through and update policies where needed. We did have the project review committee, which deals with policies the most out of our committees, just through the Act 250 and Section 248 review process. We did have project review committee look at existing policies and provide recommended changes to those. And then a final thing with the update process is we really wanted to focus more attention on the steps that WRC can take to implement the regional plan, and to do a better job at explaining our role at the WRC in implementing some of the strategies in the plan versus the responsibility of towns or state agencies. So just making that more clear in the plan. So with that, I'll just pause before jumping over to the draft web-based plan. I just want to see if there are any questions at this point. And I don't see any,
Matt. So
I don't see anything.
Thanks. I can't see everyone on my screen, so thank you.
yeah, it's tough with a lot of people.
So I'm going to stop sharing for a second here.
Does anyone have any questions for Matt at this point in his presentation? Just about the history, background, what the priorities were or are? Okay, I think we're good, Matt.
Okay, thanks. So you should all now see like the landing page of the draft website. And the landing page, this is an area where I am still working with Edgeworks on what we wanted to say on the landing page when people first arrive at the web-based regional plan. But I want to walk you through kind of the navigation of the site. And before I start walking through this, one thing to mention too is following this meeting tomorrow, I will share an email with commissioners with a link to the website and just kind of some follow-up details and requests as commissioners review the website. So we will be sharing a link for everyone to take time to look through the website. So, but I wanted to this evening kind of walk through the website with everyone together just to provide some general orientation. But please take time in the upcoming weeks to explore the website more.
And Matt, you may want to just scroll down a wee bit just so they can see more what the full page looks like.
Oh yeah, yeah. So this again, this is the landing page, and this is, you know, this is just kind of this is placeholder text at this point. What I'll be working on is just how we want to welcome people and introduce the site on this first page. But when people arrive here, on the top of the page is the main navigation bar. And so under introduction, this is background information on the Windham Regional Commission, who the WRC is, the purpose and use of the plan, the vision for the Windham region, and regional goals. And so I'll just click on this page just to show it as an introduction. So this just provides context about the Windham Regional Commission. We can jump to regional goals. These are the regional goals for the regional plan. And I won't read through all of them, but just to kind of show you how those are presented.
Matt, I just wanted to interrupt because I'm assuming this is in the background somewhere. So when we get the link, it's not a public link to look at, right? It's running in the background. It's not up for the public access yet. And so is everything except maybe the landing page sort of what's the state? Is that sort of ready to be reviewed and it's just
Yeah. And I'll and after navigating through a couple pages here, I'll just talk about the review process, but everything except the landing page is ready to be reviewed. There are a couple, they are more kind of technical things we need to complete, which are just like finishing some links. And there are a couple formatting issues that Edgeworks has flagged. So when commissioners are reviewing the website, you're more than welcome to provide any comments to me when it comes to formatting issues. But I think it would make sense to focus on questions and comments about content on the website, because I'm working with Edgeworks on some of the kind of the more technical formatting issues. So I recognize they're not 100% solved, some of those formatting issues, but I don't want people to get hung up on those. But in terms of the content is all final draft, having been reviewed by the different WRC committees. And I've gone through all the content to try to, because content was developed by different staff at WRC, trying to use consistent language in the content as much as I was able to. So just things to keep in mind when reviewing the website. And then, so the different plan areas, the different chapters are broken out under plan areas. And I'll just, as an example, go to natural resources. So natural resources, each chapter has a landing page for that chapter of the plan with background information, a couple paragraphs explaining what's covered in that chapter. And then there's navigation on the right-hand side for different sections within that chapter. So for example, say we were interested in learning more about natural resources and specifically forest resources. You would go to forest resources here. And then for some chapters, there's more content than other chapters. Natural resources is a chapter that has more content. And so there are subpages with additional data and information, so that information is not all shown on one page. So if you went to the forest resources page and you were interested in learning about maintaining the region's woodland legacy, that would take you to that content. And then you'll see there are links embedded here. So example, here's a link for Vermont Woodlands, and that would take you to that site. And so that's just one example of how we are able to link to outside websites from this web-based regional plan that takes a reader directly to that additional resource. And that does help just in terms of the overall amount of content we need to provide to in the regional plan. If we're able to link to an outside resource that provides additional information, the plan itself doesn't need to provide all that explanation in the plan. And it just allows users to learn more about a subject if that's something that they're interested in pursuing. So let me go back just to, so the regional profile, this is our background information. We have a regional profile in our current regional plan that includes information on geography, history, and regional data. And there's data throughout the plan, but some of the primary background data, so population data, for example, is shown here. Also population growth trends in more recent years. And regional plan maps. So right now we have all of the required regional plan maps, and then we also have some additional supplemental maps that we have included in our regional plan. Those are all listed here. This is one additional item where I'm still working with Edgeworks on, which is we are going to have a ArcGIS online map that is accessible here too. That provides some of the data from these different regional plan maps in an online map that users can turn data layers on and off. But just for example, if you were interested in looking at our future land use plan, this would just link directly to that PDF. And in the land use chapter, you would also be able to link to that future land use map from the land use chapter itself. Another thing that we wanted to do with the web-based plan is to have all the regional plan policies in a more centralized location. And so currently with the regional plan, those policies are listed out within each chapter of the plan. And with the web-based plan, we have the policies for the different chapters called out within the specific section of the website. So if you were interested in seeing policies on just land use, you could navigate to that with all the land use policies listed out here. And then if we go back to the land use chapter, you can also link to those land use policies. So if you were on the land use chapter, there's the background information, but you could also jump directly to the land use policies. And then finally with the implementation section.
Hey, Matt.
Yep.
Sorry, just real quick. I just don't, we have a lot of new commissioners. I want people to understand why separating out the policies is really helpful. Oftentimes, that is the main thing that users are that visitors to the plan are looking for, the policies. So really being able to streamline how to access that, whether you're a developer or Conservation Commission or District Environmental Commission, the future Land Use Review Board. I mean, it'll be helpful to have all those things clear right at the click of a button. So just want that may not seem revolutionary, but it'll be really helpful to have all those easy to access in one place.
Yeah, and one thing one thing I'm noticing, and this is just one goal we have too is to be able to right now the policies are separated out, and so one thing I'm working with Edgeworks on is to have a landing page that has all the policies in one place too. I think it's helpful to be able to navigate to separate policies, but I think we want to have a one page too that lists them all out in one place. And then because one of the goals we had was to provide a clearer picture on our implementation process, we did want to have a standalone section to just addressing implementation. And so this section includes information on how we, the title here, putting the regional plan into action. And so this includes information on a lot of the core programs that we manage and run at WRC. So our municipal planning assistance program is included here. Regional programs like the Brownfield program, transportation planning, water quality planning, emergency planning. And then we also have, and we have an implementation matrix, which this is something still to be uploaded, but it is a PDF document of a spreadsheet that lists out action steps, recommended action steps that were developed by committees for the different sections of the plan. And many of those action steps are things that we already do through those core programs, but just making clear to readers of the plan that these are things that we're doing and will continue to do to implement the plan. And then this section also includes the project review process under Act 250 and Section 248. So describing our role, how we define substantial regional impact, which is critical in the Act 250 and Section 248 process. So just having this information readily available and easily accessible. And then this section also includes how our regional plan relates to municipal plans in the Windham region, and also a relationship to adjacent regional planning areas, just because our work is so interdependent with surrounding regions as well. A couple other things to note, there is a search our site function, so you can type in text to search if you're looking for a specific term within the plan. You can use that. And one other thing, this is kind of another technical thing that we're finalizing with Edgeworks, but is that ability to save a PDF of a specific plan section or a PDF of the entire plan, and that would be a function too that would be available to users of the site. So I think those are the main things I wanted to cover. Again, there's a lot to look at, but I just wanted to give commissioners an overview of how to navigate the site. And if there are any questions, at this point, I do have a couple more slides just about next steps, and what we're asking for next steps for review of the draft website by commissioners. But before I jump back to the slideshow, I wanted to pause to see if there are any questions.
You want to quit sharing, Matt, so we can see?
Oh, sure.
Stephen Cheat, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Matt, under policies, I didn't see transportation policy. Is that
Yeah,
incorporated under something else?
I just noticed that. So honestly, I just got the draft website from Edgeworks this morning because I know they've been working diligently on it. And so, yeah, I flagged that, but that the transportation chapter content is there under plan areas.
Yes, it's on that.
Yeah, but for some reason the policies did not get included. So I'm going to follow up with them on that. I think it was just a
Thank you.
oversight. Yeah.
I have just
Bill
two,
Dunkles, and then, oh, sorry, I saw Bill Dunkles and then your hand, Ann.
okay,
Very quick. Matt, I noticed under one of the headings there was air quality with a question mark next to it. I assume that's just a typo, not a big deal. I just want to say I think this plan looks fabulous. And the way you've formatted it and given people an easy way to access, I think it's going to be a huge help. So thanks for all your work.
Thanks. Thank you. And yeah, the air quality, it was kind of a, not to get in the weeds, but whether it was a main page or sub page. And I think that question mark was just a,
Gotcha.
yeah.
But the plan looks great. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Ann?
I agree, it does look great, and I just wondered whether or not users will have the ability to download a graph,
Yeah.
and how easily will they be able to get a PDF of a section?
Yeah, so I know, and just so I understand, and the question about downloading a graph, would that just be like downloading just the graph itself versus the?
Yeah,
Yeah.
only because, as a picture, so
Like-
that someone could embed it in their own report or presentation. that
Like
they're-
grant writing purposes and other things, Matt.
Yes, exactly. Otherwise, you have to do it like take a picture yourself, and it's just not as good resolution, so. it's a
Yeah, Matt, that
small
would be a
point
great
that we're
tip. I mean,
running to.
and it's nothing we have to hold up anything to do, and that could be something we do in a later iteration. But that's a good idea, and if it's possible.
Yeah, and I think I can talk to Edgeworks about that. I mean, I think my assumption is that it shouldn't be too hard to do, and that's kind of a technical behind the scenes thing that they could do.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It's pretty common on websites now.
yeah. But
Thank-
you would be able to download, again, this is kind of a behind the scenes thing, which I know from the beginning they've been developing the website so that you can save a section of the web-based plan or the entire web-based plan as a PDF. I know that they set that up from the beginning, and I think that's just a functionality that needs to get turned on with a very clear icon
Got it.
on the plan
Great.
on the website. Yeah, but that was a priority for us.
Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
And Matt, I see Kathy, her first hand up, but I just want to ask quickly, is this type of feedback you're looking for in part for the commissioners, like more eyes, functionality, things like that? Like, are we barking up the wrong tree, or is this what you're looking for?
This is helpful too. I think, yeah, more eyes are always helpful because I'm not able to see everything and I see things differently. So I think, if commissioners want to review it for those types of details, I'm happy to take those comments. If you're more concerned about the policies in the plan, that's fine too, to focus your review on that. But any comments that you have are just helpful because, there's a lot of things I'm sure I didn't catch.
It's okay. You're breaking new ground with this, I know. So this is great. Kathy, thanks for your patience.
Sure, no problem. Matt, yes, kudos. Looks beautiful, and I think it's fabulous. One thing I wanted to point out is I think that you said that it can be downloaded as a PDF. Often these plans come into play in like federal proceedings. So for instance, I know FERC in the hydro relicensing has to review any kind of regional or state plans. And so as this is finalized, it would be great to have that submitted to the FERC docket so that it is in their list of plans. And I will stick an email to you the instructions for, a link to that and the instructions for how to do that. But glad to hear it can be pulled out and then referenced in another way for those types of reasons.
And Matt's going to talk about the process going forward. We're still several months out from a adopted plan, so it'll be a little bit. One other quick thing I just want to note is for anybody who, and if we'd been able to have our meeting last month where we're going to talk about the Act 250 reforms, you would have seen a little bit more about this. But anybody who's been following those reforms closely, we're going to be adopting we'll be doing this again in 2026 to adopt a regional plan that comports with the new Act 250 reforms. This is not that. We're following the current rules. It's not even the old rules, the current rules right now. So if anybody's looking at this and having any consternation about, wait a minute, I thought we had to do X, Y, or Z, that we're still a couple years out from that. So I just want to let folk know in case there's any confusion.
Any other questions about what Matt has presented so far? I don't see any other hands, but I'm going to say that looks great. I mean, and sort of piggyback on what everyone else is saying that, thanks for doing this, Matt. I know this is sort of our first stab at it. I know it hasn't been done a lot, throughout the country, but I think the way you sort of set the tabs up and parsed the items out looks really great. And I appreciate all the work you've been doing with Edgeworks as well. Oh, Steve Lemke?
Yeah, Matt, one quick question. I assume that this is somewhat proprietary among all of us, and none of us should take individual options to share any or all of it with the outside world until it's approved.
Thank you, Steve, for that question. So yeah, at this point, it is just an internal draft. So I would, ask commissioners during this initial review process before we hold the public meetings to not share the link. Once we go into those public meetings, the plan is to do a press release and to have a link to the website available from our website, and to encourage members of the public to explore the draft web-based plan. But for the upcoming weeks, the idea is just for commissioners and for staff to have a chance to review it. So I'll share my screen again. I just have a couple more slides here, just about kind of next steps in the process. And so, So the idea is to give commissioners through the end of December to have this time to do a preliminary review of the draft website. As I mentioned, I'll plan on sending an email with a link to the website And you'll have my contact information to send comments back to. One thing I would ask as you're reviewing the plan in the upcoming weeks is just keeping in mind that it is still a draft plan. We're not asking commissioners to approve the plan at this point. We're still going to be having public meetings in January and February of next year. And just because of the challenges of updating content that's on a website, it's more complicated than updating content just in a Word document. Comments that you have, questions that we can correct after the public meetings, we would hold off on making changes to the plans after we have those public meetings. Certainly, if there's something in the plan, I'm not sure what that would be, but if there's something in the plan that there are concerns about sharing that at a public meeting, please make us aware of that. We do want to give commissioners the next several weeks to review it before sharing it with the public, but we're just not able to have multiple drafts of the plan. So just something to keep in mind. So if you had something, a really serious concern, please flag that for me so I'm aware of that and we can get that addressed before having the public meetings. And then for public outreach, what our plan is to hold meetings in January and February of next year. We would aim on having 4 in-person meetings at locations throughout the region, just so that they're all easily accessible in our region, and then to have 1 virtual meeting on Zoom. Because it's very hard to present an entire plan at a public meeting. These would be high-level presentations on the role of the regional plan, highlighting the goals in the plan and some of the implementation strategies. But we would really be encouraging people to review the plan online and provide comments. And following those public meetings, the plan is to compile comments from the public and from WRC commissioners. So compiling those February into March of next year, and then work with committees to complete any final updates to the plan content, and send all those final edits to Edgeworks Creative kind of as one package. So aiming for March, April of next year. And then for the adoption process, WRC is required to hold 2 public hearings within the region. And so, aiming for May and June of next year to do those, we need to provide 30 days notice of our hearing to the towns in our region, state agencies, and adjacent RPCs. So once we get through those 2 public hearings, WRC would be able to vote and adopt the plan. I'm hoping June, July of next year. And so that just gives you a sense of kind of our timeline over the next 6 months or so to wrap this up. And as Chris mentioned, once the plan is adopted, we are going to be starting the process of going through amendments to comply with the new Act 2081 and Act 250 requirements. So I believe that's my last slide. Are there any questions just on the process, the next steps for the project?
I'm not seeing any hands, so if anyone has questions, let me know. And there might be questions once you actually see the website, so you could reach directly out to Matt on that. And Matt, all the maps have been updated, right, with this plan?
I'm sorry, Garrett, all the
All
maps?
the maps?
Yes, all the maps have been updated. Yep.
All right. Well, with that, we'll expect a link and instructions for our review through December. Thank you, Matt, for putting this all together. It's literally been years in the works, and I know everybody's been really looking forward to particularly like maps and certain sections getting updated. So I think this is a huge accomplishment, and and not only that, but I think you have the doubly difficult task of having to do it in an online version that was also able to be in a hard copy version for people, so that we meet people where they need to be. So well done, and thank you so much for pushing this forward over the past several, not just months, but years. So thank you so much, Matt. All right. With that, I think, Matt, you're welcome to stay, or you're welcome to jump off if you like. But thank you so much for your presentation and your time tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, and we're moving on to the Project Review Committee report. Unfortunately, Jack Cunningham could not be present at tonight's meeting, but we've provided a paragraph summary of the Project Review Committee meetings for the past several months, including the projects that were on their agendas in November and September, along with links if you want more information about those particular projects, which look to be Grace Cottage, Hospital, mobile home relocation, and the Goodrich Gravel Pit in Grafton. Does anyone have any general questions that about the Project Review Committee meetings or the projects that they've reviewed? All right, hearing and seeing none, thank you all. If you do have questions, please reach out to Alyssa. The staff, her email is linked in the agenda. All right, I'm going to then turn it over to you, Chris, for your executive director's report, which I think this month also, has a bulleted summary, which is great. So hopefully people scrolled past the Zoom meeting login info and was able to see Chris's summary already.
Yeah, so I don't want to take a lot more time. I know you guys appreciate all the time you've given us tonight. Highlights, I guess I'll mention as I shared the article and a summary of the four-town housing planning charrette that we did in Winhall, Weston, Londonderry, and Jamaica. I thought went really well. It was an experiment, not sure how it would go, but really, I guess what I would say is that I think the process of actually doing kind of conceptual designs based on public feedback of like where housing could possibly go in areas that were that are generally safe from flood risks, strategies that you could use, like actually what could you do actually on town-owned land and other things. I think it went really well, but I think the benefit, and this is what there was the experiment part of it, was how it would be received when you have multiple towns engaging with one another on this, not planning for what happens in the adjacent town, but kind of helping to fertilize ideas and helping to think beyond just the town boundaries. So I think it was helpful, like to hear, concepts that came out of Winhall, what that might imply for, hey, maybe, in Londonderry, we could pursue some of the same ideas, or Jamaica or Weston. I think it was also helpful, frankly, for neighbors to just kind of understand the potential development contexts within each other's towns. And what I'd really like to do is replicate the process, and instead of just focusing on housing, really start looking at how do we grow our existing historic compact settlements up and away from flood hazard areas. So Sue West and I are going to be meeting with UMass Amherst again on Monday to talk over what their capacity might be in 2025. with again the idea of kind of having a cluster of towns work together, going through a similar charrette process, and it would certainly include housing, but also just focusing on how might you grow up and away from flood risks. So, and the idea is not to come up with a hard, similar to the housing, it's to come up with concepts, it's to come up with kind of conceptual visions so that you can even begin to kind of think of beyond what currently exists and what might make sense going into the future. So again, the idea is not, to come up with a hard plan or zoning bylaw amendments or anything like that, but just to kind of help with a community visualization about how things might evolve over time. So looking forward to that meeting. And also had a discussion with, last year we had this senior landscape architecture capstone studio look at the West River Route 30 corridor as their laboratory, and the focus is necessarily on the students doing their work. Not really having the towns as clients, but still getting them here, working with the region, and then presenting to the public different design ideas. And the professor wants to do that again here, and so we're trying to pin down the community. Right now, what's being proposed is Saxon River, because the class would really benefit from doing a master plan type work, visual kind of design vignettes in a more of a village setting. And earlier this year, the chair of the Saxon River Village Trustees I met with them. They're talking about, they were interested in the idea of they have sewer, but they don't have water. And what I suggested to them is, before you plan for a water system, you really need to kind of think about how the village might grow and evolve. And that village has prior experience with a graduate studio doing some design in the village. So again, we're still kind of testing the waters with how these capstones might work, but that's what's being proposed. So we're going to continue to build these relationships with UMass, have built really good relationships with UVM. And I'm going up tomorrow. I have a series of meetings with a number of department heads and other folk about work here, and then also statewide. So that the more we can bring, I think, universities into the region to do work and bring their students in, the better. And I've summarized. I'm back on the Climate Council this time. The subcommittee I'm serving on is the Rural Resilience and Adaptation Committee, which I'm glad to be on. Also, I've been representing the RPCs on the technical advisory group to the county, to the legislative county and regional governance study committee, not telling them what to do or what, hey, we should do counties or not, but just really providing kind of technical advice about, they're hearing from a lot of different types of governments around the country about, and the focus primarily has been kind of on, the initial focus has been on just kind of different intermunicipal governance models that exist. Starting in December, they're going to shift more into public safety and emergency management. And then there are a number of other groups there. I'm sure they'll be moving into probably public utilities and other things. So it's a 2-year process. They're being quite deliberate. Nothing is being decided right now. But if you want to follow that committee's work, I've provided a link in my report. And that's really it. The town reports went out. We sent those out, I think it was last week. These are the reports that go into the town, the annual town reports, following the very same format that we've done for the last, even preceding me, at least 15 years. Basically just explains what the WRC is, what we do, what the basis is for it. We highlight some of the year's information, direct people to our annual report, budget, work program, and then the assessment for the town for the coming year. As you may recall, in the work program and budget, you approved a 2% assessment increase, which is kind of we usually would go with the consumer price index as kind of a discounted consumer price index. So we're asking for a 2% increase, which for most towns, the effects are in some cases like $100 or less. It's not a huge burden on the budget. And that's it. Any questions for me?
Yes,
Steve?
Steve Lemke, and then Kathy.
Chris, I have a totally unfair question to ask you. I'm always amazed by the work that you do in the tangential way that you work within so many budgets and so many committees and Montpelier and local and state and even national. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being terrible, 10 being fantastic, when you shut the light off at night, how do you feel about the Wyndham region? Do you feel that from your position that we're treading water, that we're losing, we're going under, we're treading water, or we've got our head well above water at this point?
Lordy, in what aspect? I'll tell you the main thing that from a community development, economic development perspective, and just general well-being, I worry about municipal capacity to do not what needs to be done from some looking from the outside in, but really from the inside out. Like what is it the towns want to do? What do they feel they need to do? But how do they resource it, and how do they even begin to have the discussions about doing whatever that is, much less making decisions and then trying to come up with solutions. So, and especially within the context of having to respond to disaster after disaster after disaster, because that's kind of consuming, capacity that towns have on the margins. So there's that. And then to me, our primary beyond like the basic planning 101 stuff associated with land use and housing and everything else, there is the fact that, I grew up in Southern Appalachia. I grew up in Southwest Virginia. My hometown wasn't hit by Helene, but the town immediately to our south, a town called Damascus, was. It's been a lot in the national news a lot. Same thing with Northeast Tennessee, Western North Carolina, where I grew up. That was all kind of our community, where those states come together. And as bad as the flooding has been here, I mean, the scale and just sheer, the sheer geographic scope and the scale of the damage was just profound. And that could absolutely happen here. And so I really do, from my work, what I really want to prioritize is how we can help communities visualize growing out of harm's way. And I'm not talking about moving towns, moving villages, moving downtowns. That's a challenge, but how do you evolve up and out? And just working with communities to even be able to get, like I talked about with UMass, just begin to even visualize what that might look like. And in my opinion, too, we really need to come up with the resources to help municipalities do more like actual physical master planning, so that you can figure out, okay, what can and should go where? What capital improvements would have to be needed? What kind of capital investments would we need to make? What would be the financing strategy to make this happen, so that there, beyond just words on a page and plan policies, there's actually a shared community vision, a shared design that the public can look to and figure out, okay, over the years and probably even over the decades, this is what we're aspiring to do. This is what we're going to invest in doing for the, the long term, not just well-being of the town, but in some cases, especially with our villages, where they're located on alluvial fans, subject to highly erosive, flooding events, the actual continued existence of some of our villages in some cases. So you asked for it, Steve, that you got it. That's my partial answer.
Thank you.
I got it on my stomach.
Kathy, did you have a question?
You know what? I just wanted to say how much I enjoyed the housing meetings. I was only able to go to the first session, but they were just excellent. And Chris, thanks for putting that together. And I agree with you so much about, could we take that way of looking at something and apply it in different ways? And thought everybody that went was really glad they had spent that time.
Good. Thank you.
Great. I'm going to just move us on so that we can let people out on time and be respectful. of the time that you've given us tonight. So I'm gonna move on to the chair's report, and I don't have much to report. I'm just gonna remind people this is our last meeting for 2024. No meeting in December, so we'll be back in January 2025. And apologies for the Zoom mishap last month. So we will cover Act 181, which is the revisions to Act 250 at our January meeting.
And we will, at a future meeting, have the UMass folk present the outcomes from the Four-Town Housing Planning Project. So maybe I need to see how that jobs with the regional plan update, but that maybe that'll be in March or something, but we'll figure that out. We'll get that presented to everybody.
Right. All right, moving on to, and is there any public comment? So this is, anyone can speak to something that's not on the agenda. All right, hearing and seeing none, I just tell everyone, have a great end of your year, and thank you for all the time that you've put in to date. I really appreciate. We haven't had any quorum issues really. Everybody is always, sort of prepared and has thoughtful comments, and I really do appreciate the discussion and your time. And I really want to thank Chris. I think staff is, doing an amazing job, Chris included. And so, as usual, anything we could do to help you, Chris. I noticed you took some vacation this year, which I am fully encouraging you to do. But I'm really impressed with what, the resources you've built around you, and the staff that have been helping us, in doing all of this work. So thank you, and thanks staff on behalf of the board.
Will do.
And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. All right, Edie, nobody wants to leave. A second by Steve Lemke. Thank you. I appreciate that. You're having an enjoyable time. So I have a motion to adjourn by Edie, second by Steve Lemke. Have a healthy and happy new year till I see you in January. With that, all those in favor, say aye to adjourn. Thank you. We're adjourned at 7:31 p.m. Have a great
Yeah, thank you.